welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, we have the honor and privilege to be joined by Austin from Fantasy and Fitness, a fellow YouTube channel. Austin is the most jacked booktuber out there, and I just bullied him into reading my favorite book of all time, The Empire of the Vampire by J. Christoph, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So, diving straight in, Austin, what did you think?
Oh my goodness. This is the best book that I've read since Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson.
Whew.
I'm talking all of these, John Gwynn. It was just incredible. I had such a good time. Thanks to Dylan here for taking over my entire TBR. I mean, everything. It's everything that I love in a book. It is fast paced, violent, it's funny. World building's incredible. The way he did the world building, it's just phenomenal. I mean, nothing even slightly negative to say about this book.
That's so good. Have you read anything with vampires in it before, or was this your first, like mine?
This was the first. And to be honest, if I would have seen that book somewhere, I would have been like, vampires, no. And I would have just kind of moved on and just looked past it. Vampires, I don't think would have called to me really. But you recommended it so heavily, I was like, all right, I'll try it. And immediately within the first 10 or 15 pages, I knew that I was hooked.
Oh yeah, but those first few pages, when you're just trying to figure out what's going on and who's who, that drew me in. And I hadn't read a story before where we're looking at the story from a character's past and they're telling us it. And I loved that storytelling element. Have you read many books like that before?
I think just Name of the Wind, Patrick Rothfuss, I believe is the only one that I can remember. I like it though, because you get, the legend himself, and then you get day one starter. You get to see, you don't know exactly how he got there, but you know he did get there, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's really fun getting like a mature character, but also getting to see them growing up and see how they became mature and getting a character that's younger as well. So I'm guessing this is a 5 out of 5 for you.
5 out of 5, absolutely. Yeah, easiest 5 out of 5 in a long time.
And is this a book you would recommend to everyone, or would you recommend it to just a specific audience?
To be honest, I can't think of a type of fantasy reader I wouldn't recommend this to. Like I said, we have action, we have violence, but we also have incredible world building. We have a really good plot. There's, a bit of romance. A, you
A
know,
splash. Yeah.
it didn't ever take over the story. It was cool to see somebody's why. That's important, right? That's character development and everything. I guess the only type of person I wouldn't recommend this to is someone who only loves the plot to be romance, because that's not the plot. Everybody else,
Yeah.
this book is perfect for.
Yeah. And even with that, it's there's so many good characters and the relationships between the characters that we do get. It doesn't take away from the fantasy aspect like it would in a Court of Thorns and Roses, where the romance is the whole thing. But those readers can still enjoy it because there is good character dynamics, good romance from that. But there's also a ton of plot and a ton of epic fantasy that meshes well in the series. I find
Absolutely.
my yeah my only like issues when recommending it to everyone is just the amount of like swearing. Just like Jay Christoph just doesn't hold back.
Yeah.
So it's just full on. Like everything he does is full on. He doesn't censor any of his story. His romance and his sex scenes that he puts in there are purely for the character's development and their story.
Yep.
So like one controversial bit is there's what's it? Gabriel, when he first discovers he's what he is,
Right. Yep.
and people have issues with his age when he's discovering that. But it's not like you're reading that sex scene to get turned on. You're reading it for the development of his story. So it's kind of works, and he makes it work that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything. He doesn't do anything. Everything's connected. Everything has, reasoning towards the story. It's just incredible. That's why I love his writing so much.
Going into spoilers now, did you think of the world? What were your favorite world building aspects of the story?
Well, just overall connection. I loved how these Silver Saints were connected in with religion, right? They're not just vampire hunters. They are the most faithful, servants of their God in the world, and the way that just connects to the dynamic of everything, right? Because you get these cold-blooded hunters and killers who are in church twice a day, every day, dusk and
Yeah.
church, which is just incredible. The sun stuff is really really cool. I like that. I like the visual of the sun being there, but not providing like warmth. Really, that is really really cool. I loved that.
Uh, Me too.
And the twist of day's death, of just that happening, right? Vampires are here, they're out at night, so stay in at night, just stay safe.
Yeah.
uh and then boom, one day all of a sudden now they're just everywhere. Now they're taking over. Now we get to see how the map and the nations and how everything's changing. It's just so cool the way he does things.
Yeah, I find how he blends his plot and his world building together to be super enjoyable. That's all built around, the sun goes away, and then how the world goes when the sun goes away, just like the things that you eat,
Yep.
just how vampires can now just be out all the time. So there's bam everywhere. And then one of my favorite aspects was the half bloods. So the fact that all the Silver Saints just half vampire, like where do you get that idea from? I found that really fun.
I like that, and then the tiers of the vampires as well. You get the frail bloods, and then the ages. You get the fledglings, the middle age, and then the ancient. I mean, just everything. The tiers and the levels is just
Oh,
so smart. So and the types, the five
yeah,
different bloodlines, I guess. Just so cool. I like how we get some hard magic system, right? Really
yeah,
defined. There's these four bloodlines. They do these four things, and then we get a little bit of the soft. We get the sanguimancy, which we don't know much about. Going ending book one, we know there's some weird stuff that's happening. So I really really like how we have a mix of those two. Like I said, everything Jay does, the way he mixes things in the plot and everything, it's just so smart, so smart.
yeah. And then I really like how he, has a cost to his magics as well. So although the half bloods do get certain abilities, they rely on smoking Sanctus, and then further on their lives, how they have the issues of they get addicted to blood and they have to end themselves early. Like just there's so many different world building aspects within just vampires that makes the vampires so interesting. Like he took just the basic concept and built so much on it that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, even the interviewer. We have a scholar vampire. I feel like it doesn't exist. We got a dude whose job it is to record things, write stuff down. He's a vampire. That's awesome. It's just an incredible twist.
Yeah, and just going to like the character part now and talking about Gabriel and his interviewer, I found their dynamic, their back and forth, the jokes between them, the banter between them, to be one of the highlights of the book for me. I I think that just makes it like I'm just walking down the street hearing Gabriel's story, and then next thing you know, the interviewer just butts in, and there's like a quick little back and forth between them, and I'm just cracking up listening to the audiobook.
That's I think when I knew I was gonna like this book, when there's just there's a hatred, but there's also like a mutual respect. I feel like. Actually, I don't know if
Oh,
Gabriel respects the interviewer just because he's a vampire, but the interviewer definitely respects Gabriel. But it's just, yeah, he hates him, but he's cooperating. You know what I mean? Like he
yeah,
doesn't like that he's cooperating, but he likes that his story is getting written. He just doesn't like that it's by a vampire. And yeah, the humor was what really caught me off guard. Was what I wasn't expecting. I would say probably from this book.
yeah. I found the relationships and the character work just makes so it's great to have a great plot in the world building, but if you can't cook to the characters, you can't enjoy the story as much. So I found the relationships that Gabe had,
Mm-hmm.
whether with Astrid, whether with Dior,
Mm-hmm.
the relationships with Aaron and Baptiste,
Mm-hmm.
like just the dynamics between each of the characters was so fun. How did you find the relationship dynamic between Dior and Gabriel as the story went?
Good. It seems no matter who, Gabe's just he's very sarcastic. He's not he's serious, but he's not at the same time. So there's always that banter between people. She's really the only one I feel like that can measure up to him as far as the banter goes, which is awesome. But
Yeah,
there was hints the entire book about his wife and daughter, no longer being alive. When he left her, towards the end, I was like, oh, she was real upset, and then back, and then now I was like, okay, I'm never leaving you, right? Like this, I'm here. It just
yeah,
makes sense that he lost his daughter and his wife, and he's trying to protect somebody, and So yeah, that growth was really really cool because it was very cold at first. He didn't want to be there. He didn't want to be a part of this, but he kind of just joined along. So yeah, seeing that growth and them coming closer, but still, not holding their tongues, right? It's like a very family relationship, right? Sometimes good, sometimes bad. So yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I just love the dynamic. And then when he left, and then she still came back to save him when they were in that town.
Yep.
There's just so many good character moments between those two where it's like, do I really want to take on someone that, you know, he just gets lost and sees his daughter in her, and then, but yeah, I found all the relationships in this book to be so fun and enjoyable.
Yeah, I have
One,
one, if I may.
yeah,
I remember when we went back and we saw Aaron and Baptiste for the first time. Yeah, for the first time since like the beginning of the book. I was almost getting emotional. I was like, oh my goodness! Like I just their intro and saying hello to each other and just how deep and heartfelt it was. I was just like, oh, like and we didn't see a ton of Baptiste. We saw Aaron a bit when they were both under Greyhand, but man, I didn't even realize the connection I had with them was that deep until they reunited, and I was like, oh my goodness, my heart. It was awesome.
yeah. I think they're probably one of my favorite relationships in fantasy.
Yep.
And I think one little character I just want to give a highlight is Ash Drinker. Um, there's just certain aspects when Gabe pulls out his sword and Ash Drinker just starts singing something random about how to cook something while he's trying to fight.
Yep.
On the audiobook, the voice is just so perfect. It's just another one of those moments where it's a serious book and I'm like, oh my God, how are they going to survive? And then I just start laughing again. Just perfectly done.
Yep, I love it. It reminds me of Nightblood.
Nightblood, yeah.
Is that it?
It sounds right,
I think it is.
but I haven't read Sanderson book in about 6 months, so
I
I
think
can't
it's
remember.
Nightblood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of that. Yeah, just and that adds to the whole plot. Ash is broken, is cracked, so she's not fully there. She's sometimes she's there, sometimes she's not. Hilarious.
And how did you find the writing style for Jay Kristoff? Is that something that really worked for you well? Did you like the amount of prose and descriptions that he uses?
Yeah, no, I found this very simple to read. Like once again, within 10 or 15 pages, I was like, I'm in. I'm hooked on this book. So I think it was just very easy to read. We do have some heavy prose, but I think it's incredible. It doesn't let the world building and the plot and the characters suffer because of it. It's he does it so well.
Yeah, and I really find the language he uses, how he uses a lot of French words, just kind of like throws you into the world
Mm-hmm.
and just helps to, dissociate the book from real life, which just is one of the reasons why we all read.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had to look up a few words at the beginning, but after that, yeah,
Yeah.
I was in.
I remember the first time I read one of his books in Evernight, I was like, what is going on here? Like, I had to do a bit on audio because it's just, that's even more full on of the slang and the different terms that he uses. But yeah, he likes his descriptions. Like in Damned, he uses a description like, if the daggers that everyone was staring were real, I'd be absolutely dead, or something along those lines. And just every description's it it's weird, but it works perfectly. So I definitely think that's a highlight of the way he writes his books. So talking about moments in this book, let's just jump straight to the ending. Did you expect that to happen at the end where, they're just like, all right, we're going to sacrifice her?
Yes and no. Normally when there is in fantasy books a prophecy like this, normally it requires someone's lifeblood. So that part makes sense. But the fact that Chloe was
That's what I was
was in
thinking.
on it, the fact that she was so into it, it kind of turned me away from that because that's what I originally expected, and I was like, okay, no, Chloe, she's awesome. Maybe not. And then the fact that she was ready to just gut her at the end, I was like, dang, I didn't expect that of her. I guess it makes sense because she is probably the most faithful, whatever.
But yeah, she was very religious and fully believed in like the church. But yeah, I can't believe that the relationship that she had with Dior all the way through the book, and then you get to the end and it's like, oh, you're just gonna do that, not even care about it at all. That's
Lambs to slaughter. Yeah, that was. Yeah, I was like, oh goodness, goodness. But the
yeah,
scene after that, oh my gosh.
yeah. I didn't see the Selene twist coming, and just the fact that she gave Gabe some blood. Oh, and
Yeah,
then
that's
Gabe was coming.
another. That's another one of those things where there was There was hints towards it in the beginning. He never saw his sister dead. He never saw her
Yeah.
body. There was someone around her age at the church because she was a servant girl at the church. But that was another thing that I kind of expected to see his sister at some point. Not her. Never once thought that, oh yeah, that might be her sister. Not even in the slightest. So that was also another really cool twist. She knows. I Not to get ahead of us here, but that's kind of what I'm excited for in the second book, is to learn more about what the heck she knows, how she knows it, what she's doing. That I'm very much so looking forward to.
Oh yeah, you'll get what you want with that in relation to book two, and you get to learn about sagomancy and
Yeah.
all the good things, which is that's a fun way. Is there any moments you wanted to talk about from the book that were highlights for you?
Killing all the other Silver Saints was wild. We knew from the interviewer that he was the last. You just assume it's because of the war and attrition and whatnot. I never expected it would be by his hand.
Oh
Which
yeah,
makes sense for what they were trying to do, I suppose. But oh my goodness, when he killed Greyhand, I was like, oh, holy
yeah,
crap! That's part of
that
it.
was wild.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
when he climbed back up the cliff after they kicked him off, and he went around to the dead side of the church. Just subtle things like that, where he has an alive entrance on one side and a dead entrance on the other side. Jay makes that, and then he comes busting in the dead entrance. I mean, I can only imagine what they were thinking when they looked over and saw it was him still alive
just blood streaking down.
and just kills everyone. Like, that
Yeah.
is such a badass scene. That was absolutely amazing. Now, let me ask real quick.
I think we can spoil the first few pages of Damned. What is it?
I was just thinking, I couldn't remember. No, it isn't Damned. He was in a mentor state at some point and had someone working under him, and we met that apprentice. I can't remember the guy's name because I think it just happened.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I had the name this morning and I was thinking about it, and then I completely lost it.
It's all good. But
Yeah.
I was hoping we got to see, we got to see him as him in like the mentee role. I wanted to see him in like a leadership type role, and it's not so much the case with Dior. I guess a little bit with like the sword training and whatnot, but I wanted to see him train as Silver Saint and have so the fact that we got to meet that relationship as well and learning more, hopefully seeing more of that dynamic there. I feel like we probably will.
Yeah, nah. Empire of the Damned really gives readers a lot of what they want after reading Empire of the Vampire. It's just done very well.
You know what's very sad also? I I've never heard of this until you told me about it, and I got into it. So I looked up the release date for the Third Empire, and I found this article, and it started off that the next Empire book will be released in 2024, and I was like, no way! I found it at the perfect time. It was talking about Empire of the Damned, which was, I guess, it was just released. So I thought I was getting the third book, and I was like, yes. And the second book just got released, which sucks for me. I was very sad about that.
No, it's annoying when you just want to binge through, especially with this series, the way it leaves off. You want to know what happens, especially like how Empire of the Vampire finishes with Gabe just going after his interviewer. I'm like, well, what's going to happen? I'm like, he's there for a reason. Why is he there? And no.
That was also very cool. Just the ending, just thing after thing. When he got his hand around his throat, I was like, oh goodness, it's over.
I sort of thought it was over for that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised that he lived, and the scene where he lost his wife and daughter was that. I mean, that goes more towards the world building and whatnot. Like, the Forever King has his daughter. He has to invite him in.
Yeah.
It's just the rules and how he brought everything together. That scene was like awful, like in a good way. It was incredible. It sucked, but it was very, very good.
Yeah. So, leaving Empire of the Vampire, what are you expecting out of book two when you continue reading?
Want more answers on the Sanguimancy. Want to learn more about that. I want to know about his sister. We don't even know what she's doing. She can just kind of dissipate into moths and fly away. The stuff she can do, and she's at her age should not be at the level she is. So how is she this powerful at such a young age. So I just want to learn about her and about the Sangomancy. We don't see too much of the vampire kind of like their culture. We don't see how they rule besides the Forever King and his kids. Like we don't know the different heads of the bloodlines really. We don't know. So I'm excited to see the dynamic between all of them. And I'm assuming at some point we're going to get kind of a change of the geographic, the land between the four bloodlines. Because at some point the king's going to die. I don't know when that's going to happen. Right, he kills the Forever King, so there's probably going to be revolution and fighting amongst the vampires along with the humans. So I'm excited to see that as well, and then to learn more about his bloodline, which I guess we learn is not just a bloodline, but it's believers. I believe his sisters called it his and her bloodline, his sister in Sagomancy, and then some of the vampire kind of dynamic.
I think you're going to love Empire of the Damned like
Okay.
3 times as much as you loved Empire of the Vampire. You're asking all the right questions.
Oh, nice.
Did you want to do a quick little segment going over what you've been reading lately?
Sure.
About that? What have been like your highlight reads from this year outside of Empire of the Vampire?
Outside of Empire of the Vampire, I think the Bloodsworn Saga, John Gwynn. I know you're big on those two, Hunger of the Gods and Shadow of the Gods.
Yeah.
Love the Viking. Love how they do the Half Bloods as well, the Tainted, and then there's a really easy way for him to do heroes and villains, which is great because you have the rat god, and they're sly and they're sneaky and they're gonna stab you in the back. Like that is so cool. Orca is I love Skull Splitter. Oh my goodness, she is amazing.
So good. I'm actually just rereading Hunger of the Gods at the moment, and I'm audiobooking at this time. I've got about an hour to go. I just know what's coming, and I'm just that ending of Hunger is just, it's a lot. You're just jumping between the 3 stories,
Yep.
5 stories technically, and I love it. I love how John he just gives you a snippet of each person and then jumps around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when you read like Sanderson or Robert Jordan, they spend a lot of time with one character for a while. I love just for my TikTok brain, just jumping from thing to thing.
Yep.
And just, you can picture a John Gwynn book like a movie. It just feels very cinematic for me. Blood's fantastic. You go.
My only complaint at the end of book 1 was I loved Varg, I loved Orca. At the end of book 1, I feel like Escar, nothing really happened. But then as soon as we started book 2 and got a little bit into it, it all made so much sense. When she, I don't want to spoil anything, but when she did what she did,
yeah,
it's like, oh, now that makes sense. And then that whole second book, I was just pumped, and her stuff was awesome. And I love how we kind of get 2 characters who are very family oriented. They would do anything for their family, right? It's how that's Orca and Varg. And then we get one who's kind of on the other side, who you think she's dealing in these tainted, like she's doing what the other 2 are fighting against. So you don't know, is she good? Is she bad? Like, should I like her? Should I hate her? So the characters he did was incredible.
I do love the questions he raises in this book. It's like, do we like Tainted or are we against Tainted? Are we with the gods or against them? Or what? I still don't know what the goal outcome I want is. Do we want gods to return? Do we want to try and stop them from returning? Like, how does this end in a peaceful harmony? I have no clue. Like, it's very, very interesting. I was thinking about that yesterday. Just, how is this supposed to play out in book 3?
Yeah, I can't wait for that. Other than that, I did all of Demon Cycle right behind me here.
Yeah, I saw you read that. I was like, not many people have read that one.
So I took a look at the first book. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I grabbed the first book, and you actually just made a video about it. That first book is one of my favorite first books ever. Seeing Arlen, just this sad, watches his mom, this sad little kid, and then boom, we get him just killing demons with his hands. It's just, that first book was incredible.
Yeah, I really loved that series. And the more I read it very early on in my fantasy reading journey, so every time I read another series and I kind of like think back on it, I'm like, I kind of like it more and more after every other series I read, and I appreciate the Demon Cycle for what it was.
Yep.
So I've wrecked your TBR quite a bit. If you were to wreck my TBR, what would you recommend for me?
Oh my goodness. I don't even know if I have anything that you haven't read.
Well, I've seen you do quite a few videos on the Black Tongue Thief, and I haven't read that one before.
Okay. Let me take a look at my shelf real quick. Have you done the Gentleman Bastard sequence, Lies of Locke Lamora? Have you done those?
I saw your video on that about a day or two ago, and I added it on my library holds. So in about 6 weeks, I should read that.
Okay. So those would be my two suggestions. That book, The Black Tongue Thief, was so much fun. So I think the author is was like a mystery thriller type author, and his editor asked, "Hey, is there any other types of books that you'd want to write?" And he was kind of like, "I don't know." And I think the editor kind of recommended, "Have you ever thought about fantasy?" So he wrote this. So he's not a typical fantasy writer, but I think that kind of helps. That book, so much fun. The magic's a little weird, a little different, but the main character, he is chaos incarnate. It is awesome. Like it's like if he looks at a situation, he's like, "What is the most wild card thing that I could do right now?" He does it, and it's awesome. And he like that's just how he is. He's just chaos. It's so much fun to read it. It's also dark, which is why I compare it to Lies of Locke Lamora, Gentleman Bastard sequence. That is one of the like that first book, Lies of Locke Lamora, is one of the most cleverly written books I've ever read. It's just the way these kids think. You know, they're con men, they're kids, teenagers, con men, and they're conning lords out of tens and thousands. Just when you hit that first heist, you know you got to get through his upbringing a little bit, and it's a little slow to get started. But when you get to his first big heist, and you see a bit of the planning, and then you see them execute. You don't see all the planning. You don't know everything that's going to happen, but you see it a little bit. You follow it. You get to see it happen, and then always after the planning, after a bit of the execution, something happens, and you're like, "Oh goodness, that is not good." But there's the twists. I'm reading this. I'm like, this dude is a genius. This author, like, you have to be so smart to write like this. But it is also dark. There's also sometimes you're like, "Holy crap, what just happened?" Both of those books are clever, dark, and funny, both of them. So that would be how I took over your TBR. And the unfortunate part is you were going to be upset because Scott Lynch, the writer of the Gentleman Bastard sequence, has Patrick Rothfuss syndrome.
Yeah.
He's not.
But I see he gets a lot more love than Rothfuss though. Because like if you do a post on like unfinished series, everyone's like, "Oh, I don't mind Scott. He sounds like a good dude. He's just got some. He's gonna get there." And then everyone on Rothfuss is like string him up. Like they're done. They want anything to do with Rothfuss anymore. Yeah. It's like they've burned. Don't go near the name of the wind.
Gentleman Bastard sequence, Black Tongue Thief, perfect timing. The second one comes out in 2 months.
Oh, just one book out at the moment?
Correct. Just one book.
Oh,
and perfect. The second book is a prequel, so you can almost read this one as a standalone.
Perfect. I love that. But they both sound great. Like you said dark, you said heist themes, you said funny. Like that's just my go-to series. Like if you give me a heist theme in a dark fantasy world, I'm gonna love it. Like I just read the Queen of Thieves trilogy by Andy Peliquin.
I've seen a bunch of videos on that from you.
Yeah, I told Andy, he sent me his books. I give one a go. I read one. I'm like, all right, Andy, I love this. I'm going to keep reading, but I'm only going to do one a month so I can talk about other books to on the videos I do. I end up reading 5 books of his in 1 month. It's just pure addictive.
You're a madman. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. But no, I add those 2 to my TBR, and I think we'll wrap up the video here. So thank you so much, Austin, for coming on. We'll definitely have to do a follow-up on either Lies of Locke Lamora or Black Tongue Thief. I'll link your channel down below. I love watching your videos every morning. I just check what's been happening over there. It's fantastic. Is there anything you'd like to wrap up with?
No, just, thank you for being here. Thanks for taking the time. We're across the world from each other, so I'm glad that we were able to make it work. But then once again, just a thank you for you. I don't think I ever would have started this channel if it wasn't for you. I want to tell a quick story about that. I've been thinking about doing something like this for a long time, but I hate cameras and I hate social media. I don't have any social media personally. I have been off of it for years. I don't like cameras, pictures, whatever. I'm a very private person. And my idea was every fantasy fan that I've met, I haven't met one who, is similar to me in personality. They don't like I haven't found one that likes to work out and trains and does all this and is active. And I saw your page and I could tell immediately, okay, this dude is in shape. He knows what he's talking about. Like, he reads, he's in shape. And then when I found out you're a trainer, I was like, oh man, it's over. But yeah, when I found your channel, I saw, one of your videos popped up my feed. I liked it. I clicked on your page. I followed your page after like 3 or 4 days, 3 or 4 videos. And I found you, I think, when you had like 300 subscribers on YouTube, and now you're
Yeah,
over 1,000. So congrats on that. But after 3 or 4 days, I was like, I'm gonna do it. I got the mic, I got the webcam, I got the light, and then I just, I started doing it from there. So thank you for your inspiration, because really I wouldn't have started without you. So thank you very much.
oh, and thank you. You've just killed it. You're like, you sent a comment on one of my videos. You're like, I'm going to start doing it. And then from the next day onwards, you've done a daily post. Like,
Yep.
just not stopping you. Just so good.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited to see how your channel goes, and everyone, like, check him out. Go give him a follow.